So this week we checked out the new Turtles Beat 'em Up Shredder's Revenge. What did we think about it, Suini? So what did we do? We played this game with some of our mates. You
Yep.
and I played it. Mike abandoned us once again. But we beat the game as well. Story
Yeah,
mode.
so I just want to state up front that we were playing it on PC, but we actually had one of our friends playing via game streaming, or like cloud gaming.
Which I
So
only knew halfway in. And I,
yeah,
from my perspective, did not notice or, he did better than
yeah,
you in a lot of levels. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah.
So this was almost a good kind of live test case of how playing multiplayer against people who are actually using cloud gaming, and it
Yeah.
was passed with flying colors. So
Yeah. So what is this game? This is very much in the ilk of the Turtles arcade, Turtles in Time, beat 'em up classics. And what's your high level impression of this game? That we've beaten it. We've spent a couple of hours playing it.
this game is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but the good part is there's some tweaks they could make to really improve the game, which we'll obviously get into a bit. But overall, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great love letter to those classic games. It looks gorgeous. It sounds great, and it's just a blast to play with mates.
Yeah. And like I'm definitely going to talk about some of the shortfalls in the game, but overall I love this game. I think we need more games like this. I'm
Oh
always
hell yeah!
banging on about there's too many games that are just like too long. And this to me is like so perfect of a length. Like also beat 'em ups started getting into a stupid territory where they were lasting for 5 hours. Some of the more recent beat 'em ups, and that's just to me ridiculous. It should always be like the vision of like you going back into the arcade back in the day, and you can kind of beat it with a few, like $10 or whatever, and you're there for a few hours max. But you're not going to stay there any longer than that. You're not going to be spending 5 hours in the arcade doing that. That's insane. So I think the game, what was it, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it felt?
Yeah, it was probably just over 2 hours. We there was a few moments where we like paused on the map screen because we played the story mode, so
Yeah.
might have even got through it a little bit quicker. But I think it was a great length. There were, as we'll probably get into, towards I guess maybe the last third of the game, some of the like levels were a bit samey,
Yeah.
which I think is like maybe also I will also admit I wasn't paying the closest attention I possibly could to the game as if I was playing it by
Yeah.
myself. Because we're just mucking around, we're chatting about other things unrelated to the game.
Yeah.
So maybe there are more differences between, let's say, this out of the hat, but let's say level 12 and 13. Like there were just a couple levels around that kind of later part of the game that felt very similar in visual design.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about you on that regard?
Yeah, no, like I think from an art style overall, I really love it. Like I think it's been executed near perfectly. Going into a little gripey territory, just I don't know if it feels a bit too zoomed in or just like marginally zoomed in. Wish it was like zoomed out a little bit because it felt at times it got a bit chaotic, especially when we got through. Like we actually ended up having four turtles, and you know it's not like I don't know what I'm doing, but there were every now and then I'm like, shit, where the hell am I? Like, I'm like losing my character on the screen. And, obviously, given the IP, you've got like four turtles, generally green, divided by those four colors. But, just looking in the peripheral, it's really hard to tell who's around you. You know what I mean? Like, where's Leo? Where's this and that? And that's always going to be a challenge if you make a game like this. But, overall, man, the art style is awesome. Loved the characters and just pretty much everything about the art, like apart from the fact that I'm not sure what they'd have to do. It's like maybe it's one of those really difficult intractable problems of like how would you make the turtle stand out a little bit more. There's a few tricks that you worked out, which was, what was it, press L2
Yeah.
to show the little indicator on top of your thing. So
I don't know if it's an option, but it would be great to have an option to actually toggle that on permanently. I think that would be almost like Smash Brothers style.
Yeah.
As an option, and not have that on by default. Just if you like, especially we didn't play six players, but I can see when you get into six
yeah.
player mode, it would be like, oh, having that little icon there, especially when there's supers going off every second, which we'll no doubt talk about. But
Yeah.
I think that having that toggle would be great.
I mean, because it actually shows different things for all of our screens, They could also put like a little halo around your character or underneath it or whatever. To be fair, we didn't really explore the options, so it
Yeah.
might actually be in the options.
There was also like there's a lot of mechanics in this game in regards to much more than the classic Turtles games.
Yeah.
Like as we mentioned, supers and more combos and like just movement options. But one thing not sure how to do it, but one thing we didn't actually do was there's a mechanic to high five each other in the game.
Oh
So
yeah.
I actually not sure how that works. If it's just for fun or if it's almost like the super. Where it gives you, the taunt, where it gives you some super or something.
I think it's only the taunt that does that. But I did see that when I was trying to figure out, because we didn't know how to revive. So, like, the revive stuff's not intuitive. You actually need to know what the button is, which I don't think that they should have structured it like that. But yeah, when I checked how to actually what button is revive, I did see that there's a whole host of stuff that we weren't doing. So there's a lot of depth to the game. It's actually, and it's just a really cool game. Like, it's an awesome game to play in terms of, going to the value of it. Because, actually all of us didn't. We all play it through Game Pass, right? Effectively.
Yeah.
Like from that perspective, it's incredible, like value. And I'm one of the biggest people shitting on Game Pass all the time. This is a big tick for Game Pass, man. Day one, I probably would have bought this game if you guys were playing it, and like I didn't have to. So that's awesome, and I definitely wanted to play this game. So that's a huge fill up for Game Pass, and I think it's a better example for me, these type of games to be on Game Pass. Sometimes than even the single player games, which can be very specific to the person. I think, if Fall Guys, for instance, was launched for free on Game Pass, that would have been super cool, right? I think that's the kind of thing they should actually target a bit more, the social stuff.
Well, I think it was Overcooked when they added that. I think it was the first Overcooked to Game Pass. I remember playing that with a bunch of friends just because it's like, well, what game can we all access on this?
Yeah.
Because that was always the issue in the past. Like, well, let's say 360 era kind of stuff because, that was like the online gaming era. But basically it's like, well, okay, what game does everyone have? Well, if everyone's got Battlefield. That's pretty much the only game.
Yeah.
So it's the only game we're going to play,
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone's got Game Pass, it's just you guys get a lot more options.
Yeah. And, I think the music in this game was pretty awesome, but I didn't actually like the mix. To me, it really felt like they dialed down the music too much in this game over the sound effects.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part is whenever you're doing like voice chat with mates
Discord.
over like Discord stuff, like I just had to scale the entire game music down. But what I heard, I liked, especially the vocal tracks, and obviously Mike Patton sings the theme song, which is awesome. I'm a huge fan of him. So
so am I.
So let's talk about the supers. So if anyone doesn't know, basically, this game has a super mechanic where you hit enemies and you level up to get a super, and as you get stronger and you're more experienced in turtle, you can unlock multiple bars of it. Not the unfortunate part, well, I guess it is that there's a taunt mechanic where you taunt and you get the super instantly. So what it devolves to is basically everyone just taunting all the time to get the super, releasing the super. And unless you control yourself, you can just literally taunt again and then use your super again. And it just kind of just ends up being super smorgasbord.
Nice pun. Yeah, and it's ridiculous like how little the penalty is. The penalty is if you use a super, no health, no nothing. It's just you use the super, and the taunt, from memory, it's like 2 to 3 seconds. I think you have to wait. It's not long at all.
I saw someone on a forum have the audacity to say that they should make it easier. Like
what, this game?
The taunt mechanic. They're like, oh, make it so you can cancel out of it or it's quicker. And I'm thinking,
cancel out of it.
This thing is already goddamn broken. Now, I don't know, maybe they were playing single player and it's a lot harder to kind of do that stuff when there's less people, and that would make sense. But I was like, man, like it's already broken. They need to tone the hell down out of that thing, because outside of one or two bosses, the game on the normal difficulty was just ridiculously easy. It was.
Yeah, like we got through. We died, but we had enough lives. Like we don't actually know what the live mechanic really is. Like, could you run out of lives and then you're out of the game? I don't know.
Not sure. Like,
we don't die enough.
I made an assumption that maybe that was a key difference, other than the absence of the world map, key difference between the arcade and story mode is that arcade is, while you run out of lives, it's game over. Unless they have a
Ah,
continue mechanic. That was my
okay.
assumption, but I don't know. So,
Yeah, yeah, and it's not a review. Like we're doing our impressions of like beating the
yeah.
game. But look, like honestly, that taunt mechanic and the super, it's so broken. Like they gotta change something. So they either gotta make the super you lose health, so then you are kind of a bit like, well, I can't just spam this throughout the whole level, and you have to be more judicial with the way you use it, or I don't know, I don't like the idea of maybe just remove it. Honestly, I don't think you need to have the taunt recharge your super. Like just
That's
remove
a
it.
that would be my preferred way to
Yeah,
do that, is just get rid of the taunt option,
yeah,
because you're still gonna build that up from hitting the enemies, and it incentivizes people to take action to go towards the enemies rather than I'm going to run away
yes,
in a corner and just taunt.
yeah. Which is
You
kind
know,
of a bit devolved to. Like I stopped doing the taunt super thing during the levels because I was kind of actually subtly getting annoyed that we can't like go to the next bit of the level because everyone's taunting. Like, and I'm
yeah.
waiting for everyone to fucking stop taunting
And
to move
some,
on.
like, I was
That's
playing
not
as
fun.
Raphael, and his taunt was just laughing, which was
Yeah.
okay, but then there was other taunts that were just really annoying.
Mine's the
Um,
worst. I played as Donnie and he was like, what was it? Just a minute. Just a
yeah.
minute. That's really annoying.
But
But
look,
great game. It was an awesome game.
yeah,
They'll
absolutely
patch that. They'll
awesome.
patch the taunt. Hopefully. God, hopefully.
Yeah, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Developers Tribute Games. The fact that I think this is just an absolute like showcase for them, and I think it really put them on the map. So
Yeah, and I mean the publisher Dotemu, they've got a fair few things coming out like that are pretty decent. Like actually, it's like a publisher I keep my eyes on now. Like Metal Slug Tactics. I mean, yes, like there's a whole Saudi Arabia thing behind that, but you know, like Streets of Rage 4, like they've done a lot of cool stuff in the last couple of years. So they're also a mob to keep your eyes out. What Windjammers 2 as well.
yep,
So
yep.
there's a lot of cool stuff that they're putting together. I actually like that publisher. So yeah, what would you give this out of 10 if you were back in IGN when you were working there?
The thing is, me rating out of 10 is, people are not going to think it's right, but I think this is a really great 8 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
I was like magazine rating where anything below a 90 is considered shit, then okay, a 9 out of 10. You know, so
That's the trouble with it. Like, you know, I get shit for saying that Dumb and Dumber is like a 10 out of 10 movie. They're like, what the fuck? How could that be a 10 out of 10 movie, right? And it's like, it's not trying to be Schindler's List or Godfather. But for me, just the humor in it, fucking, like every joke makes me laugh in that movie. Every joke. Like even today, I can still watch it and I find everything funny, right? And it's like this kind of game. It's not trying to be The Last of Us, for God's sakes, right?
thank God.
Part one. But, you know, like for what it's trying to do, being a beat 'em up, it literally reminds me of being a kid playing Simpsons Arcade, right? Which was available for a short period of time on Xbox. And
I
then,
know.
and the last controversial thing, and I think Joe Jives was one of the people we were playing with, right? He's our special Patreon subscriber that he gets to play with us. But this is the man that said he beat Battletoads in a weekend. Sweeney, do you find that more or less believable after playing with him in this game?
Why are you
Be
going back
honest.
to this
Be
now?
honest.
I don't understand. You're extending this
I'm asking
segment
the question.
just to riff on him. I
Do
still
you find it more or less believable after playing a beat 'em up game?
No, I played the fourth. The fourth is no the fifth.
It's
The
the
fifth.
fifth.
I played the fifth.
So
No, the fourth is that hidden one about turtles and Battletoads. So I played
No,
the fourth.
the Fifth Amendment's a racist thing, but so but you know what pleading the fifth means. You feel like your answer's going to incriminate you. So I will take that as you just like me. I find it less plausible. I want to see Joe Jives stream him beating Battletoads over a weekend, and then I'll believe it. All right, let's go back into